Hello everyone. How is everybody doing tonight? I will just give this a minute to load here on my end. If you are there, say hello or comment hello while I get this pulled up. It looks like it's here on my iPad so I can follow along. Of course, it's acting funny. Just try to get there. I see. So hi Ramona, how are you? You can see I have a mess here tonight. I apologize, you're going to have some lights showing in the mat here, but it keeps crashing on my end on the iPad. So hopefully, here, I'll have to bring it up on my phone so I can see if you guys are commenting and try to follow along there and not have it close on me. All right. Sorry for the delay here. What is everybody up to tonight? Have you all got all of the celebration things that you have been... Oh, here, we just got to turn the volume down. There we go. Hi, Darcy and Jean. How are you guys? I'm going to try to follow along with comments on my phone because the iPad's not behaving, but I'm going to make this card here for you guys. So I am Alana Worf, Sleepless Stamper. I am in Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada, and I am finally back to do a live for you guys. I don't know about you guys, but you know, sometimes when you haven't done something for a really long time, I feel a little bit anxious about coming back. I feel like I've kind of left you all hanging while we've been busy with other things, and makes it a little nerve-wracking to come back. But I figured I would show up and come and make this card for you guys so that you would be inspired to use some of those celebration things that you may have earned over the last couple of months. So I am going to create this sunset, sunrise, whatever you want to call it, with the Jungle Pals stamp set and the Rays of Light background stamp. Do any of you guys have that Rays of Light background stamp? I feel like Linda, hi Linda, I feel like you must have this one, but I love this one. I have another card that I wanted to show you guys. It has recently been posted through the Blues Challenge on Stampin' Fancy Friday, and oh yes, I know it's been such a long time, Linda, and I hope to be back regularly. So for our Blues Challenge on Stampin' Fancy Friday, which is the Artisan Alumni, I am on the Artisan team this year, but I was also on the team a decade ago. And so with that alumni team, the challenge for February was create something blue. So I made this card here, and I had questions on how to make this sunburst, and I wanted to show you guys how to do it with something celebration related rather than something retired, because this Palms die is retired now. So I have chosen to combine it with Jungle Pals. I thought it would be cute. Originally I was going to do the sloth up in the tree, and I may do a nighttime one with the sloth yet, but hey Janet, I decided I would try it with the toucan because it just seemed to fit. So I'm going to create that background for you guys, and we'll make this card. There is another version I've done with different colors, but I can't share that one. So you can really mix up the colors and different products that you use it with. I used it with the hot air balloon. Some of you will earn that tutorial actually, but you can either earn it with a qualifying order or by being a team member. So that is, it will go to some people. I just can't post it publicly. So we're going to make this one. So I'll move this aside. I just have to quickly answer somebody on where to find us. 1 second. Sorry, I just had to ask for some help on how to get to the... Oh, there she is. Melody, I just went and asked Ryan to send you the link on where to find us, but you're here, so I'm glad that you made it. So I still have some of the ink here from earlier when I made this card, but I will tell you guys how I made this. So I'm going to begin. I'll show you guys what all of my supplies are. I have a thick white card base. You'll notice that this one is a little bit smaller. I started my panel a little bit smaller, so I just trimmed everything to fit. So this one will be slightly bigger. But I have a thick white card base. Should give you guys the measurements. It is just 4 1/4 by 11. This is 2 3/4 by 5 1/2. We have pre-cut, I'm going to show you guys these. So this is the Jungle Pals stamp set. And then we have the Jungle Pals dies. Now this is a celebration item. I'm hoping you guys have this and that this is inspiring you to use the things you have, because I haven't been around for so long. I felt like I should just show up and make something for you guys to give you inspiration with your existing product. And if not, you are always welcome to place an order, but that wasn't what I wanted to show up for today. All right, so Jungle Pals is the stamp set, and then it has these dies. So there's all of those, and then there's this cute little tree. There are the leaves, which I have pre-die cut, and then I'm going to use the toucan as well today. Then I combined that with the mini alphabet dies, which are in the mini catalog, or the occasions, the January to April one. So we cut a bunch of letters with those for you guys. Actually, if you want another way to use these dies, yesterday my project with ribbon letters was featured by Stampin' Up! For Technique Tuesday. So you can either see it on my page, I shared it here for you guys, but you can also see it right on Stampin' Up! Or Instagram as well, like Stampin' Up's Instagram or Facebook page. So I created ribbon letters with that die. Now I have 2 of these, and then I pre-cut a little strip of the DSP. This is the Zoo, I want to say Zoo Review, Zoo Crew DSP. So there's those cute little animals on the other side, but I cut some strips here just to border my focal layers. So we'll move these out of the way. And I also have some alphabet letters ready to go. They have dimensionals on them already, because none of you want to watch me apply dimensionals to that many letters. So we'll move this aside and we'll get started on this technique here that I'm going to show you guys. Now, if you guys are ever unsure of whether or not reinkers are a good thing to have, there's so many different techniques that you can do when you have reinkers. They are great for not just reinking. Hey, Crystal. I know you don't like me drawing attention to that, but hi. I know some of you feel like or just aren't sure what to use them for. So they are good for not just reinking your ink pads, but for doing different techniques as well. So I have used the white reinker. That's for the craft ink pad. And then I have used Flirty Flamingo reinker, Real Red reinker, Daffodil Delight reinker, and Pumpkin Pie reinker. So I put a little bit of the white. I'm just going to add to this one here. So I would, when I started this, obviously my glass mat was clean, and I just put a little drop or 2 of white craft ink right on the glass mat. The nice thing about the glass mat is it cleans up so nice. When I have done this technique in the past, I have done it on my silicone mats, and you can see that if it's left there, it will stain it. So the nice thing with this is it won't do that. It cleans up really nice. So now I'm going to add in a drop of Real Red, and maybe even a little more. Have any of you tried this technique where you tint your own craft ink so that you can make custom projects? Now I have a palette knife and I have a cup of water here. I don't know if many of you have the Happy Trails mugs that we carried a little while ago. They're not the greatest mugs for drinking out of, but they're great for having water handy to do techniques with. So now that's what purpose mine serves. Now that I've cleaned off the Daffodil Delight, I can put this in here. So I'm just going to mix this up. And then I'll have a little bit more red. So you can see that it is a lot more pastel in color than the bold red that starts off as. But that is just from the White Craft ink, and the White Craft ink being in there makes this really easy to glide over the white cardstock. It just blends really nicely. Okay, so now I want to just show you the Rays of Light background stamp. So it is positioned like this with this part here that does not actually stamp the center. So I'm being mindful of that when I ink this, so that I know when I place this eventually onto this stamp, all of my colors will be where I want them. I wanted that little burst to start up behind the toucan, and he's up in the tree. On this other project, it's down on the other side. So I knew I was going to flip it over so that it could be up near that branch with the little guy in the tree. So if you're going to try this technique, just be mindful when you start your blending and when you're stamping as to where things will be positioned. The first time that I created this sunset card, I was not careful about that, so I had to redo it. So that is, you can learn from my experience. All right. Now I'm knocking things off. So I'm going to start with my little circle here. It will eventually rotate up this way, but just for the ease of where I'm going to, how I'm going to access this, I'm going to start with here and the Daffodil Delight, which is going to become the center here. So I'm just going to pick up this ink with my dauber, and then I'm going to go about here and make a circle. Now I'm going off the edge on purpose because I don't want a perfect circle right on my paper. If you want yours perfectly on the paper, you can do that, but it looks a little bit more organic when it's not so perfectly placed. Hey, Paulette. All right, now I'm going to go in with some pumpkin pie. And these colors were all mixed the same way that I did that little bit of red. I just wanted you guys to be able to see how I mixed that. Now I'm actually going to blend this one out a little bit more, just create some fluffy edges so that it's not so stark. And then when I come in with the pumpkin pie, these will blend in a little bit easier. Not easier, but the transition from one color to the next will look a little more natural. And I'm not too worried if there's distinct lines because we're going to add so many layers with the colors, the splattering, and the stamping that it's not a huge deal even if those lines are a little bit stark. But then I'm going to fluff these ones out a little bit too. And then I'm going to come back in with my Daffodil Delight, and then I'm going to go over that line again. Then I'm going to actually come in a little bit more again with the pumpkin pie. And then it's not quite as bold between the two. Now I am going to go with some Fleur de Flamingo, which is this one here. They're a little bit out of order on my mat here, but that's okay. I know which one is which. And now I'm going to go around here with this one here. I just love how easily that glides. Hi, Kathy. How are you? How is your kitchen coming along? I have various friends who are working on kitchen renovations and house renovations right now, and we're still not completely done, so I feel their pain. Crystal, you've been there recently too. I mean, it's nice in the end, but my goodness, it's not super convenient, that's for sure. Now I'm going to come back with the pumpkin pie and go over that line again. And then I will just come over. I'm going to actually take the Fleur de Flamingo out a little bit further. I don't want the red to be quite so, taking up quite so much space. All right. Now, next we're going to bring in the Real Red. I probably didn't need to make more Real Red, but I wanted to make one of them at least so that you guys could see that. Now we're just going to come in. So if any of you have troubles with your shoulder and blending, I know sometimes when I am blending with a blending brush, my shoulder hurts a lot. And so the way this blends over, if you need to go easy on your shoulder, give this a try where you mix the craft ink with re-inker of your choice and see if that's a lot easier for you. I find that it just blends. I mean, again, it's not as bold of a color, but it's just so much more friendly to my shoulder when I do that. Okay, so that is about what I want. I'm gonna go, now that I've flipped it over the other way and can see a little bit more closely to me without sticking my head in your view, just gonna blend a little bit more. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit here. Hi, Lisa and Lena and Michelle. Thanks everybody for joining in. So now that I have blended that, for those of you that are just tuning in, these little piles that I mixed up to blend on here are a mixture of white craft ink mixed with a droplet of the re-inker of the colors that I wanted to use. So I'm going to just wipe this up here really quick, and then I can move on to the next stage. Just don't want to get that all over. Michelle, are you still on vacation or are you home? I shouldn't ask you that, probably, but I hope that you're enjoying some sunshine. All right, so that's all cleaned up. Now I'm going to do a little bit of spattering. So this cup I was telling you about, it is going to come in handy for doing a little bit of splatter over my blended portion here. Now you can see on here I've got these little white dots. That's what this step is going to do. Hi Joanne, how are you? Okay, so I have a paintbrush and I have just my bone folder, and I'm just knocking that over top of the blended piece of cardstock. So you can see there, it's lifting the color. So I'm going to stop with that. And now I have a paper towel that I may even do a little bit more here. It's just not as obvious because the colors are lighter there. So then if you just place a paper towel down, it will dry up those dots and lift the water, which pulls the color off of there. Years ago in Technique Club, some of you guys might remember doing something similar with rock salt, or rock salt, where we did techniques and then you put some, like you sprinkle salt on it and it pulls the color. Hey Christine, how are you? Okay, so we've done that. Now before I do the next step, I need to make sure this is really dry. You guys all know craft ink probably, and how it is a wetter type of ink, so it will stay wet longer, and if I go pour my embossing powder over this right now, it'll just cling everywhere, and I don't want that. I want this nice distinct image of the Rays of Light background stamp. So I'm going to give this a heat set with my heat gun, so just bear with me while we dry this. So if you can hear me, I just dry it in a strategic pattern just to make sure that I've covered everything, and you can kind of see the color change a little as it dries. So I'm going to just move back and forth strategically. Make sure that I cover all areas. hopefully that's good. Now I'm going to bring in a Rays of Light, and I have my little scrap sheet here so that I could. Now I may just have to grab a new scrap sheet. 1 second. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I have a scrap sheet, and you'll see what I'm going to use that for. I am going to take my embossing buddy to this still, because I still don't want that powder to stick where I don't want it. So this is going to help remove the static from the piece of paper, and then ideally the powder will only stick where I've put the stamped image. So now we're going to ink up Rays of Light with Versamark ink. Hey Hattie, how are you? So that is Versamark. And now I was telling you guys about being strategic about where the placement of this stamp goes, and how I want this circle not to be fully on the piece of cardstock but partially over the edge. So with this facing me, I can see that, and I can be mindful of taking this little yellow part and placing it right around the sunburst, but not fully, like I don't want to place it over here so that the full circle is on there. I'm going to place it set into the circle a little bit. All right, now I should have gone a little lower, but that's okay. Now I use this piece of paper so I can hold this in place and make sure that I get a nice even application of that ink. There we go. So now I've got that Rays of Light covered over there. And now I can bring in my clear embossing powder and hid it under another strip of cardstock. And we will emboss this one. So I'm just going to pour that back in here. Hey, David. There's some familiar names here tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It's always more fun when there's somebody watching instead of just crafting by myself. Thank you, Joanne. It's awesome when we have such well-coordinating products that help us to make everything go nicely together. So I am just, it's a little tricky when you've got to cover the full piece of paper, but there we go. Make sure that's well covered. So I've got that all nicely coated now. I can just put this away. Oh, I set that in the yellow. I don't want to put that back in there. That's going to get yellow ink in my clear powder, and we don't want that. So just got to wipe my hands off. Thank you, Linda. Hopefully you guys will try this. I have used this technique. Some of you probably remember seeing me do this with the, Grassy Grove or Grove Dies. All right, so we're going to heat set this. And if you are new to embossing, you'll see here when I'm heating it that the powder is going to go from powdery to nice and clear and shiny. And that's how you know when it is heat set. Or if you were using white powder, then you would know once it turns white. Or sorry, glossy as opposed to powdery white. I love watching this go from powdery to heat set. Now, I don't know if you recall me saying I should have placed my paper a little lower. I am going to trim off a little bit from my entire card because this has missed just a little bit and I don't want that. Actually, you know what? It's fine. Nope, that's going to be the bottom. So I will trim that little bit off and we'll just trim everything off by a little hair at the bottom. So I'll remedy that first with this little cutter. And it's just like a 1/16 of an inch. So my card will just be about a 1/16 shorter. Thanks, guys. I'm glad that you like it. So our little toucan has this beautifully bright background to play in. Now I need to stamp a toucan for you guys. So I'm going to get some basic white cardstock and Memento ink. And I will do a toucan for you. Thanks, Jean. So how many of you will give this a try? You can, of course, do a technique like this with regular ink. It does not have to be the Whisper White tinted ink. It just glides a little nicer if you do this technique. But you can use your regular ink or even other types of ink that you guys may have. I just flung that leg right off of there. So different brands of ink, you can get a similar effect too if that's what you have at home. Use what you have. That is the theme of today. I'll try to come live for you guys again tomorrow, just because it has been so long. All right, so I also have the toucan. I should have pre-stamped the hello so you guys didn't have to watch me do that. So I'm gonna stamp this little guy on here. If you guys have a glass mat and are not using it, I encourage you to get it out and use it. It has been amazing, not just for this, but for stamping on, for blending on, for coloring on. It is like the greatest thing. You can get it for free by joining Stampin' Up! Right now, but hopefully it will be available to customers after as well. So I have the basic black, I have smoky slate, I have pumpkin pie and Cajun craze, and I also have Daffodil Delight. I did do one slight little line. I'm going to bring this up closer for you guys to see. There's just a slight little detail line right here with gray granite. If you have followed me for a while, you've probably seen me do that with Pool Party or gray granite with the Party Puffins. It is just a nice way to add a little bit of detail. So I'm going to start with the pumpkin pie. I have two sets, so I just need to make sure of which one this is. I think I have one that's a little bit lighter. Okay, so this is the one I want to use. And then I have the dark Cajun craze, and I have the dark pumpkin pie. So because I wanted a little bit of extra color in this middle portion of the beak, I brought in an extra color. So if you have blends, we have only 2 shades of a color. So if you need a 3rd shade to get more depth, don't be afraid to pull in another color that is similar. So when we used to have Bermuda Bay, I would pair Pool Party and Bermuda Bay together a lot. Or I can't think of any colors offhand. Old Olive and Mossy Meadow are a good pair if you need a 3rd shade of a green. So I'm just going to color the middle section of his beak. I am no pro at this, but I'm going to give this a try. So the middle portion I did with the light pumpkin pie. Now I have Cajun craze. That was the dark Cajun craze. And then I'm going to blend that out a little with the dark pumpkin pie. And then I'm going to come in one more time with light pumpkin pie. And then I actually brought in Daffodil Delight, the dark, and I just came from the front end of that section there to blend it out a little bit more. I found that pumpkin pie was just a little bit too light, but the yellow helped to bring out, I thought, the right colors, but I could be wrong. All right, now I'm going to do the Daffodil Delight portion. The black part of the bird is the part I always struggle with the most. I hope my head is not in your guys' way. So this is just the first layer of color. And now I'm going to bring in the darker yellow. Daffodil Delight should be more specific. There we go. Now I'm going to come back over that with the lighter Daffodil Delight, and I am just pulling away from the edge to bring that color forward. There we go. So there is the yellow part. Now is the body. This is the tricky part. We've got the light smoky slate. Did I do light? Let me just check. I don't think I did light. Yeah. So I did light smoky slate, and to second guess myself, I'm going to just do this bit by bit. I should be bringing this closer so you guys can see a little better. So I've done the front part there with the light. Now I have, you know what, I need to use the basic black, which went somewhere. Let me just test these out. I moved that guy aside. Here he is. Okay. So there is my dark basic black and my light, and then I'm going to use dark smoky slate. Okay, so whoopsie. Helpful if I use the right end. Okay, so I have the dark basic black, and I'm going to just do the same thing here, just outline that portion. I can bring this one a little further forward. And then I can come over that with the, the light basic black. Just bring that a little more forward. And then I'm going to come over that with the smoky slate. Sometimes I find if I just pounce a little bit instead of just flicking, it blends them out for me. Okay, now we've got to do the body. So we're going to come back in. I'm going to move that gray granite. I'll do the technique with that and then just get this one out of the way. So it's just this really thin line right along that side of the white part of the body. So I am just doing that. Now I'll bring that closer and hope you guys can see that there. There we are. Now that one can go out of the way and it will stop confusing me. Sometimes we get so many markers in view. So I'm coming over this with light smoky slate and I'm just coloring the whole thing in. I probably should do this in smaller sections, but I am not. If you wish to share this video, please feel free to do so. There's no pressure, but if you guys would like to. Now I'm going to come in with dark basic black, and I added just a little bit around the outside of these little parts on his head. I don't know what they're called. If you know, please feel free to share with me. Same thing on the tail. And then on under here. And then I added a little bit. There we go. Oh, and then I went a little bit under here too. Now we are going to bring over the light basic black and pull that forward a little. If it's a really small area, I sometimes find just that pouncing over the color is easier than trying to flick. As any of you who have taken Wendy's classes, she teaches us to flick. And sometimes if it's a small area, I find it hard to do that. So this is not the best coloring job. You guys will just have to imagine that it's nicer, and I may have to redo this one. The body is always so hard. I don't know if you guys think so, but there. That's it. I feel like it needs a little more shading, but we're gonna stick with that for today. So that is my toucan. Now I'm going to cut this off here. I don't want to run this whole piece through my die cutting machine because you know what happens when you put a plate over top, it just textures the whole piece, and I don't want to wreck the rest. So a great technique. Oh yeah, you need to get this. I love this stamp. I use this one a lot. It is definitely a go-to background, which you might not think so because it's rays of light. Like, what could you use that for? But I use it so much. All right, so I'm taping this down. I was a little offset with it earlier when I die cut that. So I'm just grabbing my cutting machine. And I need to try to avoid the ink puddles I've made for myself. So we'll die cut this. I'm sorry, you're gonna have a little bit of camera shake while I die cut. There we go. So hopefully that die cut nicely. There we are. He's so cute, don't you think? So now that little guy will be up there. I do need to stamp one more image for you guys. I should have done this ahead of time. My apologies that I didn't do this. I got all my other letters set and just didn't think about this one. So you will at least get to see what this is from. This is from the, oh, here it is under my embossing tray. So this is from Heartfelt Hellos. That's also a Celebration item. I use this hello right there. And I am going to, I have just put my embossing buddy over there. Now I want to grab my Versamark. And I'm going to stamp that hello with Versamark on here. If you guys don't use an embossing buddy, I recommend it. How about you guys? Do you use the embossing buddy when you are heat embossing? It is a must for me. Okay, so this is white powder, not clear. So now we can, so you can see when you use it, you just get a really nice application of your powder. And because I'm just setting this aside, I am going to make sure that I pour that back in. Now we can heat set this, and you'll see now, I was telling you about how the clear stamped image went from powdery to looking clear. This one will go from powdery to glossy white. So you can see that changing there. There we are. And now for the fun part, my apologies, we've got to fussy cut this. We may as well get all the parts ready and then I can move on to assembly. So when I'm going to fussy cut, I usually just trim the piece that I'm working with smaller first. And I find that easier to work around. So if you have never fussy cut before, a tip for you is to try and keep your scissors in the same direction as much as possible, and you just keep turning the direction of the paper. like I'm doing here. So this hand is doing all the turning, and my right hand, because I'm right-handed, is just having to keep cutting. It doesn't have to concentrate, or I don't have to concentrate on moving my right hand too much with the cutting. Okay, now I could just avoid going in between this space, but I wanted to take a little bit more off of there. There are some parts where you may have to use your dominant hand a little bit more with direction, but for the most part, if you turn the paper with your other hand, you will get a smoother result. Again, I just had to take a look to see where I cut this into, and I did go down in between the E and the L. It's a little trickier when you get to the end and you don't have as much paper, spare room on your paper to hold. I hope you guys can see this because I am facing it towards me and I'm not right in the camera view, so hopefully you were able to see that enough. And then you can come in and clean up any rough edges if you need to. I took a little bit too much off that bottom, but that's okay because it'll be butted right up against that sunshine. There we go. Hopefully that wasn't too painful to watch. If you could even see it. So now we have the toucan ready to go and the hello ready to go. Now that I have put that on there, I need to fix up one more little part. There. And now we can work on assembly. So I'll bring back in all of the other pieces of my card and assemble it for you guys. So here's my base. Now these pieces are going to be a little bit too long because if you recall me saying I had to trim a little bit off this piece, so I'm going to have to trim a little bit off the bottom there. And also I want to be mindful of this paper. I had cut out a little critter on the back, and so this part's a little short, so I'm going to put that one on this side here because less of that one shows. And then this one, I don't want this little, the V shape there, I don't want that showing, so I am just going to turn this one this way. It doesn't matter to me if my stripes face the same way. If you're particular about that, then just check that first, but if you can believe it, I actually let that go for this one. So I need to, I'm going to attach this first to my stamped layer, and then I will know exactly how much to trim off the bottom. So we're going to have some really thin tape I'm going to use on this side here. There we go. And then this way here, I've got not quite a ½ inch, but I'm going to just go right up to here and attach that. Now I know I need to trim that much off the bottom. There we go. And this can go, I'm going to butt this up to the top. I just want to do a dry fit. This is going to be over here. I want to have about 1/8 of an inch showing on either side of the stripes. So I want to just make sure that when I place my tree here, that it's going to fill that gap, and it's all good. If you missed the beginning, I was saying that I had to trim this card down a little because this piece started off at 5 1/4, whereas this time I did it at the full 5 1/2. So I didn't want to have a white gap at the top or bottom, so I just made this card smaller altogether. I trimmed it down widthwise and heightwise. So this time I didn't do that, so I'm just having to make sure that everything's going to fit properly. So it's all good. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this one down because I know it's gonna be all right now. So I'll go ahead and attach this. If you take some of those extra precautions when you're assembling something, it can help avoid some frustration in the end when you realize, such as what I did there. I had already done the whole technique and then realized, oh shoot, I cut this down to 5 1/4 and I didn't mean to. Okay, so I just need to take a little bit off the bottom. I'm just doing that off camera here. I have my bigger cutter and I don't want to bring it into all of this. Okay, now I can go ahead and glue this one here with about 1/8 inch. And again, I'm just being mindful to put that little piece with the void in it up at the top. And then I'll be able to trim the bottom off so that it is the same length as my card. Okay, so you, oopsie, we don't want to do that. So you can see here, that's a little too long, so I'm just going to go trim that off. Only you guys will know that my card is about 1/16 inch too short. There we go. Now these pieces are going to go on with dimensionals. I want this trunk, or this branch, sorry, not the trunk, this is the trunk. I want that one to be right about here so that the toucan can go there. But I also want to make sure that my leaves are going to be at an okay height above them, and they're all good. So I'm going to get this ready with some black dimensionals. Tell me, do you guys use both colors of dimensionals? Hi, Jenny from Melbourne. How fun. Thank you. That is amazing that you are tuning in from there. I'm going to just put a mini dimensional in between these spaces at the top and bottom. Then I don't have to worry about whether, if I'm putting it on the back of here, if it's going to be placed in the right spot. Here I know, okay, it's not going to end up with the dimensional halfway over the top. Now the other ones, I'll be able to put them straight on the back of the trunk. Okay, so now these ones will just go straight on here. I love creating things to look like silhouettes, especially if I feel like I'm not great at coloring or what colors to use. Black is safe, I find. Oh no, I will post this to my page after still too, Corrine, in case you want to catch the replay. Sorry that you missed some of it live. So now I am just placing this on here so that fills that in. I think I forgot to peel some of those backings off. I forgot to peel that one, and I forgot to peel this one. Those are the ones I forgot. Okay, now I can go ahead and trim top and bottom off. So to do that, I'll just flip this over, line my card up to the top, making sure my card is not within the blade. I don't want to cut my fold. That would be really sad after all this work if I just hacked the fold off. There. So now that trunk goes down the side. And we're going to get these guys ready to go on. How many of you have the Jungle Pals bundle? It originally was not on my radar, I have to admit, because sometimes I'm afraid of stamping with animals. They can be a challenge to color, but these parts are what sold me. All this greenery and stuff like that, and the sloth. He's so cute. So I'm going to take this, and this one is lined up to the edge of the DSP right along the top. I just got to go a little bit higher. Don't want to see that pink at the top. There we go. Now the same thing for this one. Now this one though, I cannot, oh, I'm glad that you have it. Hopefully this inspires you to, here, I should bring this back in, to create with it. With this one here, we can't put dimensionals over the whole thing because it's going to overlap here, and I'm not raising this up a level further. I'm just keeping it flush with the first one. So we have to be mindful here of where we place the dimensionals so that they're not overlapping that one there. So I can see this middle one is good. I can place one there, and that's about it. I'm going to put glue dots behind the rest of it. And I may have to take off, no, it should be all right. So I'm gonna grab my proper size glue dots here, and I'm gonna put a glue dot behind each end to help hold that in place. So put one behind that end, one behind this end. Now I can pull these backings off. I apologize, I have a mess of crafting supplies here. And this one I went not quite to the edge of the DSP, but if you wanted it to, you could. Oopsie, no, I can't because that placed my, I gotta move this back over just a tad so that my, where my dimensional is in the right place. There we go. So I just overlapped those a little bit. You have, Corrine, you've got this, the bundle. That's awesome. Yes, you can make cute things with this for your grandson. All right, now, because this is already raised one level on a dimensional, I wanted the toucan to be raised 2 levels. So we're gonna put some dimensionals behind this guy, and we're going to double decker them. So to double decker, you've just got to put one on, peel the backing off, and then you take the exposed side of the other one and stick them together. And then that way he'll be popped forward from the tree just a little bit. You will be able to make such cute little critter cards for him. All right, so that now I'm gonna just attach right there. So now he is in the center of the sun. This one here is going to go up a little higher. It's kind of like just sitting on the branch. And then these guys are going to overlap the branch. I originally had them a little lower, but they kind of got lost in the bottom. Okay, so these are going on with dimensionals as well, or this is. So we've got dimensionals. It is hard to make sure I'm doing this the same and not stick my head right in your guys' way. Hey, Michelina, how are you? All right, now I went ahead with the first letter and the last letter and matted them with a white. I didn't want to do the whole word, but the ones that overlap the black trunk or the pattern were a little lost. So I just added an extra piece and offset it a little bit so that it would still show up. She's getting his own box ready. Oh, his own box. What kind of box? I should probably know what you're talking about, but you'll have to let me know. All right. So again, I have already pre-put the dimensionals on the back. So these are black ones, and I just, to do that, I'll show you this here. I just snipped the borders of my dimensionals so that I could have skinny little pieces. If you had black foam sheets, that would work great for that too. Oh, thanks, Michelina. I'm glad you could join in too. So I'm just doing a quick little dry fit here to make sure that everything's gonna fit. I'm not too worried. Normally, because this is, the branch is another layer, we would place the dimensionals around it, but it's pretty flexible. I'm just tacking it right down underneath there. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start attaching these letters. Sometimes I find it helpful to just use a paper piercer or something like that to get that in place so that my fingers aren't getting in the way. There we go. So for anybody who doesn't yet have Jungle Pals, the dies are a level 2 and the stamp set is a level 1. So it's actually, you get them free with a purchase, but it is actually a 180 purchase if you want the whole shebang. Which isn't hard to do, as we all know, is it? In Canada, it's $180. If you're in a different market, then it may be different. It would be 50 times 3 in the US. And I don't know Australia. I'm not sure how your guys' dollar works there, how the conversion factor works there. I love these letters too. I have used them quite a bit since they released. They were one of the first things I played with, and because we could get them on pre-order when it was still Christmas time, I used them on some Christmas cards too. So on the N, I only put a dimensional on this side, and I'm not on this side because it gets too close to here. 90 or 180? So Jenny, you are in Melbourne, right? And I need to put a glue dot on the other side. I just about forgot that. I want that side to be tacked down as well. So I've got my N here. And then my E is going to go down with just glue dots because it's on the trunk, which is higher than everything else. I probably should have backed the N on this one, but I can always scoot all of these things over. I think I'm going to need to adjust them anyway because it's a little crooked with not being able to get my head right above the card, but I can fix that after. With this having so much of the cardstock coated with the embossing powder, it's a little easier to lift something after the fact. So I can always adjust that. Now I'm going to embellish. So that is the main part of the card. And I have a feeling a little critter is going to try jumping up here, and hopefully not, because she has put her paws in that mixture. Not this time, but a couple weeks ago, she got her paws in some pink mixture and walked all over the place and did not like having her paws cleaned. So these are the adhesive backed shiny sequins. They may not be available right now, but they are in the March online exclusives, so they will be available again. So I am using these orange ones from here. Sure enough, she's gonna head over here. No, you stay over there 1 second. I've just got my eye on her to make sure she doesn't jump up here. So I put those ones there. I love these sequins. I have a hard time using yellow and orange, but for this project, I loved these. So that's the sequins. What do you guys think of those sequins on there? Let me know. I love it when something I normally struggle with works out, especially the project that I just created was with the hot air balloon, and I was saying to the people in our tutorial group, I have a hard time with balloons. They are just something that is not easy for me to create with. I don't know why, but every time we have had balloons, they are a challenge for me to come up with something. So don't be afraid to try the things that normally challenge you. I was pretty happy with how my project turned out, but I stared at it for a while. Not sure what to do. When Ethan saw the finished card, his eyes popped open wide because he was standing here while I was struggling with it. And I think he wasn't sure whether I was going to pull something off. You stay back there. Sorry, I'm talking to the cat. Yeah, sequins are amazing. Thanks, Terry. Thank you, Margaret. So I have a linen thread bow, and I'm going to tack this just right underneath the toucan. This is I was told the other day this is my signature, a linen thread bow and vellum. Those are two things I just love to use. Surprisingly, there's no vellum on this project, but there is a linen thread bow. I think it would be a stretch to use neither. So now I can just, there's just a little glue dot on there, so now I can just reach that under here and tack that down. There. So that is my, I do too, Lena, the silhouettes. I love them. They're one of my favorites. So that is my finished project. And you can see here, they are slightly different in size. So this was just to fix that I had started off with this piece too small and the whole layer was done. I wasn't going to not use it. So I just trimmed down my card. So if you ever do that, don't be afraid to just hack some off. Nobody will know. And if you didn't see it next to this one, you probably would never know in the photo. I actually have it photographed and ready to post on my page. So, oh no, sorry. She made the jump for it. Did you guys see her jump in there? She just about got her hands in the ink mixture. Oh, 1 second, she's got to come out of here. Hey you, I gotcha. All right, so I have got the cat with me now, but I have this ready to post, so I'll post this right away for you guys. And I have a creative challenge for you. I have your address. You want this one sent to you? Is that what you mean, Lena? If you post on my Facebook page, take a photo of something you've made, either with this bundle, or if you try this technique, I'll leave it open for a week, and I will send one of my Rays of Light cards. It may be this one, it might be the palm tree one, but I will send a Rays of Light card where I've done this technique to one of you guys. So again, just to review, post a photo of your project on my Facebook page under the photo of this project, and in a week I'll do a draw and send a card to one of you guys. Again, if you want to share this video, please feel free. I didn't want this live to be about encouraging you guys to place an order because it's been so long since I've been here. I just wanted to come and inspire you guys with some of the Sale-A-Bration product because you've probably got most of what you would like by now, and wanted to encourage you to use it. So I used the Jungle Pals stamp set. I'm sorry, I've got the cat in one arm and trying to grab stuff in the other on this one, as well as the Heartfelt Hellos. So those are the two stamp set, and then I used the coordinating dies with that one. So thank you all for tuning in. I am so glad that so many of you could come. I will come live again tomorrow for you guys too. I'll do something else with Sale-A-Bration before it ends for you guys tomorrow. So I'll post earlier in the day to let you know what time, but likely 7 o'clock again. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Good night.